Hey everyone, my name is Blake and welcome to the very first Fendig Theater Experience weekly vlog. Now, welcome to my Broadway lounge. There isn't much here, but as time goes by, I promise there'll be a little more things to make it look a little more at home. But if you are joining us for the first time here on the Fendig Theater YouTube page, welcome. We're happy to have you with us. Now, if you watch this video and you come to terms with the idea that you're like, hey, I like this video, then make sure you click on that like button. And if you want to get notifications whenever Fendig releases more videos, make sure to click on that subscribe button. What we plan to do with these weekly vlogs is basically provide an outlet for our Fendig community to have a weekly video that is insightful, interesting, and most importantly, fun. You will see videos from me here in my lounge. I like to call it Blake's Broadway Lounge. And you will also see videos from my friend, Sydney, from her studio. In these videos, we will talk about all aspects of theater. We might even do some activities that you'll be able to do from your own home. And Sydney and I, we might perform a little bit too. This past summer, Fendig did a virtual program called the Fendig Theater Experience, where we had participants not only from here in Rensselaer, but also from Colorado, Florida, and Utah. So even though Fendig is located in Rensselaer, Indiana, the Fendig community can be anywhere, and it can be anyone who wants to join us. Now, if you're interested in watching some of those videos that were a part of the summer program, they are actually still available to watch on our Fendig Theater YouTube channel. You can also find those videos as well as more information about what we do here at Fendig on our website, fendigtheater.com. Phew! Now we got all the logistics out of the way, so now let's get to know each Okay, so here's a quick introduction about me. So one more time, my name is Blake. My favorite color is blue. My favorite food is French fries. I love movies, especially Disney movies. I love musicals, I love TV shows, I love reading. I'm a Ravenclaw, and oh, my favorite Disney character is Stitch. So now you know a few things about me, but everyone has a story, and today I'm going to tell you my story. Specifically, my story through my journey through theater. So, I grew up near Dallas, Texas, and my mom said that as soon as I was able to talk, I started singing. And I didn't also just start singing. Once I started to walk, I also started dancing. So whatever VHS tape was playing in our living room, whether it be Barney the Purple Dinosaur, Sesame Street, or my favorite movie as a kid, The Lion King, I was always dancing and singing. So my mom signed me up for dance classes when I was around 6 years old. And at the end of my first year of dance, which I was taking ballet and tap, we did a dance recital. And my dance studio, their recital, they held it in this huge theater. And I know it was huge because it had a balcony. So there was like 2 floors in the audience, and I'd never even been in a theater that big before, and I was performing in one. So I got to go backstage, I got a costume, I got to hang out with my classmates in the dressing room, and I got to hang out backstage and watch the other dances go before I went on stage. And then as soon as I went on stage and the light shined on me, I knew that that was where I felt comfortable, where I wanted to be. At the time, around my first dance recital, I still didn't really know what a musical was. I knew that I liked movies with music to them, so most Disney movies, which was what I was mostly watching when I was a kid, but I'd never really seen a musical until my music teacher in elementary school said, "This is a musical," and she put a VHS tape in and pressed play, and I saw my first musical, which was Cats. Now, I got obsessed with Cats. I watched the VHS tape over and over again after I begged my mom to buy it, and when I'd visit my cousins over here in Rensselaer, Indiana, we would perform our own productions of cats in my grandma and grandpa's living room. My mom started to understand that I took a huge interest in musicals. So what my mom did was she signed me up for a 3-week summer camp that was all about musical theater. I had my first voice class, I had my first acting class, I had my first musical theater dance classes, and it was at this camp where I learned a lot about what theater was, and specifically what Broadway was. And it was also where I met John and Margaret, who were Broadway performers that ended up training me in voice lessons as a kid all the way up through when I graduated high school. My mom would also take me to all the local high school musicals in the Dallas area that she possibly could, just so that I could see more musicals. And at that time, I remember seeing productions of Oliver, The Music Man, The Wizard of Oz, Beauty and the Beast, Peter Pan, and more. And I didn't necessarily always know what was going on in these shows, but I knew one thing, that I loved every single one of them. And my mom would also schedule our summer trips to my grandma and grandpa's house to coincide with when Fendig Summer Theater would have their annual production. I was in my first musical production when I was 8 years old, and it was in a production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I played the magic mirror, and I remember that my director, whose name was Marcel, she showed me all the ropes to being a performer on stage, and from that experience on, I was hooked. All through my childhood years up to through high school, I continued taking dance classes. I took voice lessons with John and Margaret, and I was in as many productions as possible. I just wanted to learn as much as I possibly could about theater. And I also got a pretty cool opportunity when I was around 11 years old. I got cast to be a Radio Disney kid for the radio station, Radio Disney. I was one of the kids that would say things like, "You're listening to Radio Disney," and yeah, stuff like that. And I got to do that for about 7 years up until when I graduated high school. As I got closer to graduating high school, I understood that what I wanted to do was move to New York City, where Broadway was. So I started making some decisions to prep for that decision to make my dreams a reality. The summer of my sophomore year in high school, I went to a musical theater intensive in Tampa, Florida called the Broadway Theater Project. It was my first time traveling away from home by myself. And though I had the greatest experience learning with a bunch of other people that were as interested in theater as I was, it was also great practice for when I would eventually move to New York City. The summer before I moved to New York City, so the summer right after I graduated high school, I got to do some pretty interesting things. The first thing was the head of the Fendig board, Heather, gave my mom a call asking if I could submit some choreography tapes to be used for Fendig's 2014 production of Willy Wonka. And so I thought that was cool. It was my first time being asked to create a dance for a piece of theater. So I did that all remotely, and that was my first experience helping out Fendig. But what I also got to do was the head of the theater that I currently did shows at the time, named Jamie, he asked me if I wanted to direct a children's production myself. And I thought that was pretty cool that he asked me if I wanted to do that. So of course I said yes, and that summer I directed my very first musical with young artists, Once on This Island Junior. I had 14 kids in the cast, and it was one of the coolest, happiest times of my life. It was a great project to work on right before I made that big move to New York City. When I moved to New York, I went to a college called the American Musical and Dramatic Academy for Musical Theater. Most people call it AMDA. It was there where I trained with a lot of really amazing teachers, and I was a mere 20-minute walk to all the Broadway theaters. I was literally living my dream, going to school during the day, sometimes school by day, Broadway show by night, repeat it the next day or repeat it every week. And it was my first time being by myself in a big city. And there was a lot of learning curves along the way. I had to figure out how to live on my own, manage my money, find a place of my own after I graduated college. But I got to do some pretty cool things. So in terms of survival jobs, I got to work as a cast member for the biggest Disney store in the country in Times Square. I also was a dancing M&M at the M&M's World Store in Times Square. Professionally, I continued my work with the Broadway Theater Project. I attended their program in high school, but through college, I ended up working for them as an intern and as resident staff. So that was a really cool experience as well. The most interesting thing that I most recently got to do in New York City was I got to work as the child talent assistant for the child casting director for the TV show Sesame Street. So I got to do, for the very first time, I got to look at the casting side of things, and I worked with all the kids that we cast on the show with their lines if they had them, and made sure that they were ready to go so that once they were on set, they could be the best they could possibly be. Where does Fendig fall in to this story? Well, Fendig was a huge part of my childhood. I watched a lot of Fendig productions growing up. And as I got older, I got to watch my cousins who lived in Rensselaer participate in Fendig productions, and I got to see how much joy it brought them. And so I was always interested in someday working for Fendig. Like I said before, I got to do some remote choreographing for Willy Wonka, but for the 2015 production of Mary Poppins, I was actually given the opportunity to be the choreographer. So I got to work with my cousin Helen, who was also in our amazing living room productions of Cats when we were little. And I got to work with Pat Collins, who, if you don't know who Pat Collins is, Pat Collins was the very first director for Fendig Theater. He was one of the founding members of the entire organization. So it was a very cool experience getting to work with my best friend and with someone that I could learn a lot from. And I took those lessons and I applied them to when I would eventually direct the 2018 production of Disney's Newsies. So yeah, that kind of started my journey with Fendig. I always love the fact that I get to try new things and meet new kids and do whatever possible to make the story and the show the best it could possibly be. That applied to all of the Fendig shows I worked on. Newsies, Mary Poppins, and even last summer's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So that kind of catches you all up on what my theater journey is so far and a little bit about my story. But my story isn't over yet. There is so much that I hope will happen. You never really know what will happen, but I can't wait to find out and see. So, now that you know a little bit about my story, I would love to know a little bit about your stories too. So, comment down below with your first name, your favorite color, and something interesting about yourself. And if you do that, I might include you in our next video vlog, so to speak. Now, before I sign off, I want to tell you all about a new segment that we are going to be doing here with the Fendig Theater Experience weekly vlogs. Are you ready? Here we go. This next segment is going to be called the Cast Album Challenge. Now, for those of you that don't know what a cast album is a CD that is basically a recording of a musical. You've probably heard a couple of cast albums. If you're watching this and you were cast members of Newsies and Hunchback, I'm sure you listened to those cast albums. But what this challenge is going to do is it's going to give you a chance to look up some musicals that you might not have heard of before and just broaden your knowledge on what musicals are out there. And I'm very excited about this challenge. So without further ado, it's time for me to announce the very first cast album challenge pick. Here we go, and it is Seussical the Musical. Now, Seussical takes place in a world of Dr. Seuss characters. So if you grew up reading books like The Cat in the Hat, Horton Hears a Who, Green Eggs and Ham, and more, all of those stories are all mixed together and it makes this amazing musical, Seussical the Musical. So in the description below, there's going to be a link to where you can actually listen to the album on YouTube. You don't have to pay anything for it. You just have to click on it and listen through the playlist, and that'll be a part of listening to the cast album challenge. And once you listen to it, comment below on this video what you thought of it. And you might be included in the next video if you do that. So I highly encourage you to take the time to listen to our cast album challenge pick, Seussical the Musical. That's about it for my very first Fendig Theater Experience weekly vlog here in Blake's Broadway Lounge. Make sure if you like this video to press that like button, and if you want to know when more videos are coming out, to press that subscribe button. And if you like these videos, let other people know and let them watch them with you or send them the link too. The more, the merrier, I promise. Just some last minute quick announcements. We are still doing private voice lessons. Sydney and I still are doing voice lessons, and if you're interested in signing up for any of those, you can find them on our website at fendigtheater.com. And we are hoping to possibly start some acting workshops and dance classes, but the only way we can start them is if people express interest in them. So we have some links on our Fendig Theater website where you can actually submit your information and express your interest. So hopefully we can schedule those slots for you so that we can make those workshops and dance classes happen. So thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like us on Facebook and Instagram, and see you soon.